Hello, everybody. It's your guy, Coco D, and I am here with the one, the only, Corey Capron.
Hello.
I have taken a journey over Zoom to the cabin to have a episodic weekly discussion on Marvel and Disney's newest show, WandaVision. So, over the course of however many episodes it's going to be, what is it, like eight?
Oh, I don't know. It kind of broadsided me. Like I knew it was coming, and they were like, "Hey, we doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah, we are."
Well, the plan is for
Uh,
us each week to discuss that week's episode. And since two episodes dropped last Friday, we will be discussing episode one and two of WandaVision. So I guess to start off, we last saw both of these characters in on the big screen in theaters. We last saw Vision getting the mind mind gem.
um, I think he's got the soul. No, he does have the mind. You're right.
Uh, yeah, we see Vision getting the mind gem yanked out of his forehead by the big boss Thanos, and we don't see him after Infinity War. He's gone, dead and gone. Now,
He's great.
Wanda, a girl, Scarlet Witch, we see again in Endgame, where she has her amazing scene where she straight up almost beats Thanos. Like it's no argument. The girl was about to rip him in half.
You killed my robot man.
She has her line, "You took everything from me." At which point Thanos answers, "I don't know you," and her eyes glow beautifully red, and she goes, "You will." Vision is dead, and
The
uh,
snap doesn't bring him back.
nope, he was before he was dead pre-snap. He's gone the way of Gamora and Black Widow.
Yeah.
Fast forward into WandaVision.
Well, I mean, like that's where we left the characters, and now we're in this weird hybridization of like the Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy, Bewitched show. Like you can throw a few other, pinches of things in there. There's a little bit of, they are living on a TV show, whether it's Pleasantville or the Truman Show. Like they are living in a '60s sitcom by the rules of a '60s sitcom that is hyper referential to the classics.
So before we get into any Easter eggs or the plot or where we think it's going or anything, I want to address some of the criticisms of the show.
Yes.
Because y'all need to chill. First things first. This is coming from Coco D, my personal opinion. Y'all need to learn the difference between a movie and a television show. A movie will have an hour and a half to 3 hours to flesh out an entire world, universe, and plotline. A TV show will not do that. A TV show will build that story, that world through several episodes. So it might not be big crash bang boom from the get go. So yeah, the first episode might be boring. It's not. Shut your asses up. But that's because it is a television show that has to build a world over the course of several episodes, not in one popcorn filled sitting.
Yeah, it has been kind of fascinating to me. And I think before I go into this, since I knew we were going to do this, I think it was Friday. It may have been a little earlier than that, but I kind of had a few days of prepping and getting into arguments with people on the internet. And I think for anyone coming in and listening, there could be a little bit of a Carly Simon Bet You Think the Song's About You. But what was fascinating to me was I kind of ended up having the same arguments with several different people, and some of them were pretty benign and others were pretty toxic. So if it sounds like I'm ripping into you tonight, no, probably not. But some people, like, it was like they forgot, like you said, they forgot how to watch a show, a mini series, if you will, where there is going to be arcs. Also, it seemed like nobody, like, a lot of the criticism I got were people kind of forgetting that this was supposed to be fake, that this was supposed to be contrived, and then thus kind of holding it up to the standards of shows like the Dick Van Dyke Show and I Love Lucy, and be like, it's not as funny as those. I'm like, we don't know who's created this alternate world yet. There's a lot of theories, but it's somebody trying to recreate those things. Yeah, you shouldn't be expecting it to be as good as I Love Lucy, because it's more, there's a Lynchian thread through it that I've in criticisms I've not heard anyone acknowledge, like the breaks in reality where it's clearly like, oh, this is not holding up, this fantasy is falling apart. So yeah, it's weird. The expectations people had for episodes 1 and 2 of, like I said, maybe 8 episodes, really confused me.
See, it's just I honestly don't think anyone who doesn't like the show realizes that it's supposed to be super corny and tropey.
I can actually hear some people out, because when you make fun of something, you really do have to understand it to its core to actually poke fun in it. Otherwise, you're like South Park going, "This is my impersonation of someone. Whine, whine, whine." You know, it's not getting to like what is the contrivance or what is the power dynamic or whatever of the show. But I wasn't even running into that. I was running into just people being like, "This isn't as good as Carl Reiner," and it's like, I'm sorry, Carl Reiner's dead, but this wasn't trying to be.
See, just I have a couple of the comments on here.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see. Let me find some of the good ones that
Draw
pissed me the
some
fuck off.
blood.
All right, so these are just random people I found on Facebook. The first episode of WandaVision is unwatchable, really embarrassingly pointless, no funny part, almost zero plot development. Update: episode 2 is trash as well. What a waste of time.
I kind of feel like that person never saw Eraserhead. Like,
has that person ever watched the show?
Yeah, and like, I don't think, as somebody, we were talking about this before. We both grew up on the shows. There's like, I hear a bunch of people kind of gatekeeping, like, "Oh, you just don't know real comedy." It's like, we have box sets of Dick Van Dyke. We know Carl Reiner. We know Mary Tyler Moore and I Love Lucy and the Golden Girls and stuff. Like, we're not just because we're under 40 doesn't mean we don't know comedy.
Yeah, my room is covered in Golden Girls memorabilia. I have the entirety of Howdy Doody on DVD. I know old shows.
Nice. Yeah. And like, I ran into a lot of that with people where I was like, "No, it's not that bad." And they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite 60s show?" And I was like, "Well, I Love Lucy, probably followed by Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the original Superman. What's yours?"
Would you like the alphabetical version or by year?
I can tell you what shows I didn't like. I didn't like the Homelanders that much. Like, I appreciate that it was trying to have a more working class thing, but like, the joke every episode is, "Gonna beat my wife," and I just like, yeah, fuck that. But like, yeah, like, I think there's this kind of assumption that people don't get it, and it's like, no, some of us like can appreciate it on that level and still call bullshit.
I think another thing, like, I don't know if this. I guess nowadays a lot of like American shows kind of have to like hit hard and fast that first episode to keep our tiny brains attached. But as someone that watches countless animes, the golden rule of anime is you have to watch at least 4 or 5 episodes before you decide if it's good or bad.
It's true. You guys
Because the
got me
first
into One Piece, and like 30 episodes in, it's like, oh, and now we almost have assembled the entire crew. And I'm
exactly.
like, okay, this is. I thought Sailor Moon was intense with this shit.
No,
But
you don't get the full
oh,
crew for like I think almost 300 or 400 episodes.
oh my
But
god.
but yeah, like as someone that watches anime all the time, my rule is 8 episodes in. If it doesn't catch me by then, it's good. Because shows take a second to build up. Even
Yeah.
an American show, Haven. Haven took me a good 5 to 10 episodes to get into. Turned into one of my favorite shows.
And what channel is that on, or what station?
Haven.
What, like, is that like?
I think it was Sci-Fi. I watched it on Netflix. It was on Netflix when I started watching.
Okay. I was just wondering if it had to run with like the primetime, the main channels formula. Like if you're doing something on NBC or CBS or something, there's a very old school writing formula you have to abide by, and it really does take you almost like half a season to get to past all of that, requirement to actually get to where it's like, oh, this is what the actual show is. Like now we're having the stuck in the elevator episode where we get to, actually learn who these characters really are and like address things.
See, that's the thing. All the comments I've seen are just the same thing. Like, it's boring and nothing happens. But here's again, my argument is: so you have Mandalorian that people like use against it. They're like, well, Mandalorian was good from the first episode. Mandalorian was very monster of the week at first.
It was, and it was also paced like an old Western. And it's like, if you have the attention span for something like a Sergio Leone film, and you don't have the attention span for like a Dick Van Dyke plot, I don't get you. Like,
we've been saturated by the ability to binge watch. Because I promise you, Witcher was an incredibly popular show. If that came out week by week, people would have hated it.
Now that brings up an interesting question, because one thing I noticed was it did seem like, and maybe it's because it is being released in increments like The Mandalorian was. It struck me as very people were being kind of making up their mind on episode 1 or episode 2. It seemed like that binge mentality that people normally have of like, no, I'll give this 2 hours. Just isn't there. Do you think it's because it's incremental like that, or?
Absolutely, it's because it's incremental and not monster of the week. Like a good example is Umbrella Academy. Personally, I love Umbrella Academy.
I'm trying. I want to.
That's the thing. If Umbrella Academy was weekly, I wouldn't have made it through it because nothing happens in that show and nothing gets interesting for a few episodes.
Like, yeah,
it's as King Lee would say, it's a slow burn. But I think we've gotten so used to being able to just like binge everything in one sitting versus like, so with WandaVision, we have to give it a couple weeks. If it was all out, it wouldn't be a couple weeks. We'd give it a couple hours, like you said. And by then we'd get within like 3 hours, we'd have 4 episodes, 4 to 6 episodes. We'd be deep into the mystery. It would be a good thing. But having to wait week after week, because we're left with so much mystery and not knowing what's going on, humans have a tendency to like, if they don't know what's going on, I'm honestly awful about this. King Lee hates it. If I don't know what's going on, I don't like it. That is my biggest issue.
So, I mean, we kind of danced around and clearly we're defending it. So I think that actually brings up a funny point, because yes, that has been something in prior episodes I've observed with you and King Lee's. You do not like the nothing gets explained. So, and yet you've had only 2 episodes. You got to wait a couple weeks. Very little has been explained. Like I said, it feels like we're playing by Eraserhead rules, where it's like this, well, Lynchian rules, I should say, not Eraserhead. But what do you think of the show so far?
I love it. It's a mystery. Like, it's you have to keep watching to figure out what's going to happen. It's keeping me on my toes. When I say I don't like when things don't have an answer, I mean when they end and I don't know what the fuck's going on. But yeah, WandaVision, on the other hand, there's gonna be more episodes. From what I've seen,
Yeah,
there's gonna be more seasons. We're gonna figure it out. It also helps that it's based on comics. So, on some level, me
yeah.
personally, I have a vague idea of where they could take the story. It could go in
Mhm.
several different ways, but I pretty much can see all the paths. Whereas,
Yeah.
like something like I can't even think off the top of my head. But things that don't have endings or things that don't come to conclusions, I can't stand.
I mean, I definitely think they're going to subvert it. Like, I like, and I'm not as entrenched in this area of comics, so I'm going to have to lean on you more. But like, people keep going, "Oh, House of M." Well, for reasons obvious, because there are no mutants, it can't end like House of M. But a lot of people are talking about like it being an inversion, and I'm like, I think that's what like as we were getting to Infinity War, everyone was like, "Oh, Adam Warlock's going to show up and it's going to be amazing." We saw his cocoon in Guardians. Adam Warlock's going to be the thing, just like the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, what is it? The comic.
That's not going to be a
But at
thing.
the same time, like the main protagonists are Strange, Warlock, and kind of comically sidelined Doctor Doom. So
It's
everyone was like, we see Warlock's cocoon, it's going to have Warlock. And we were totally wrong.
well, I
Like,
can't be. So the story of House of M,
yeah,
she creates that world because her
right,
kids die. Already, that can't be a thing. She don't
right.
got kids.
Yet.
I think so. The thing about comic books and comic book media that especially nerds don't get, comics are constantly changing all the time. They're
Oh, yeah.
never the same. Like people who get butthurt when origins change. Guess what? Superman couldn't fly when he first existed. Uh, like they're constantly changing. Let's
Comics
be
change a lot.
Yeah, like it's constantly changing. My favorite thing about comics is that, like, I mean, I sometimes get annoyed when they keep resetting the universe, but they can reset
Yeah.
it. They can do whatever they want as long as they don't change the core value of that hero. You can change comics. You can take elements of House of M, i.e., Wanda making her own reality, and
Yeah.
add it in, but they completely change how that ends, and that's fine and great. I don't. Marvel and DC or Disney have not screwed us story wise yet. So I have no reason to doubt they can't pull together a show. The things that, especially nerds, it's only nerds that are
It's
hating the show.
it's a wasted equation.
Comics can change. You're not going to be able to
Mhm.
predict everything. And they're so used to Marvel having movies, they're forgetting how to enjoy a show. And if
Just gonna
they're,
plug that
we
charger.
just living in the world of streaming, which I love doing, obviously, we forgot how to wait. I can't do week after week. And honestly, waiting on WandaVision is actually killing me. Like it's every day a little more of my like life force just drains away.
Yeah. I Yeah, it's interesting. Like I noticed that with Mandalorian. Like it didn't bother me that it was stretched out, but it was kind of this like because I was always the person that just waited till things went online. I'm I just kind of gave up on TV a while back. I was like, I'll just like I got Netflix and then the other stations as they came out, and so I just kind of got conditioned to like with Netflix before HBO and Hulu and all that. A show might be like a year or two before it hits. So I just got used to being like, everyone's like, "Oh, this is an amazing show." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, when I get to it." Um, and so yeah, it was a weird mix of like suddenly being like, "Yeah, this week the new episode comes out."
Yeah, I think the only
It felt like
honestly
watching X Files again. That date myself.
the only reason I've even been watching things like even like with anime and Mandalorian, I only start watching them when I start seeing just a little too many important spoilers. Then I start watching it. So I think we covered the criticisms and why y'all need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I will give one thing to people, and it is something I think is kind of interesting about this, which is, we talked about it a bit, but with like binge watching and stuff. But I think the other dimension of it is Avengers is like coming on I mean, it's over a decade now, and we are still in a deep lore series. And I think a lot of people I noticed that did not like this show thought that they could just sit down and watch the show
Oh no!
as if
Oh no!
they had never seen any of the movies. And that's something that's kind of true of everything that Disney Plus is cranking out right now. For the most part, is it is immersed in deep lore. It's not you are rewarded for being nerds like us. It's mandatory, and I think that is going to be. I think we're seeing the beginning of that becoming something that is going to be a problem for maybe not us because we're in hog heaven, but for the bottom line.
Yes, but I will give them. I will hold out hope because they managed to do it well with Mandalorian. Because season 1 of Mandalorian was for everyone. Season 2 of Mandalorian was you're not gonna get anything that's going on unless you watch the cartoon Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
If you haven't seen WandaVision, I'm gonna run through the first 2 episode plots real quick.
Sure.
Episode 1, just very basic. Wanda and Vision. It's one of your quotation marks basic, like 60 sitcom tropes. Wanda and Vision cannot remember what a heart on one of the days mean. They both have different ideas of what this anniversary could stand for. Wanda thinks it's for their like romantic anniversary. Vision finds out it's actually the heart stands for his boss, Mr. Hart, and he needs to have a dinner party for him. Antics ensue, things get crazy. The dinner is just full of crazy quirks and whatnot. But all in all, it ends up being okay.
I was going to say there's the Lynchian parts, which are peppered throughout that. There are just places where that very kind of plasticky 60s plot ruptured by something is not right in this universe. And it gets quite creepy. Like, I keep bringing up Eraserhead because if anyone knows that film, the dinner party, they're making a nod.
All right, episode 2 begins with there's a talent show for the children. We'll get into that. Basically, Vision, the antics on Wanda's side, she has to be a suburban housewife, and she's doing not a great job at it. On Vision's side, he chews a piece of gum, it grinds up his gears, and he is the equivalent of a drunk man. And they have to put on a magic show for a community talent show, and antics ensue. And honestly, the basic plots don't get much more than that. But we're gonna dig into the deep things that people might not have noticed. At the very least, not people who aren't nerds, because there was a lot in the show that if you're not like, yeah, a lot of shit is shown in this that not a lot of people catch. The first thing I want to pose to you, Capron, is correct me if I'm wrong, because I've seen a lot of these shows. I don't know when they came out.
Sure.
Is this moving? So what it seems like it's doing, and from what I've seen from the trailers,
it's moving to the present.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. By the end of the second episode, we're going into color. From the trailers, it looks like they're going to be playing. They're going to make that shift from Bewitched magic to I Dream of Genie magic.
So it looked one of the trailer scenes looked a whole lot like Tim Allen. What's the Tim Allen show?
Home Improvement.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I saw some like the Mary Tyler Moore show, not to confuse the Dick Van Dyke show, but I saw some little like things that made me think they might be going there.
So that's a cool concept. I really, really fucking like that.
Yeah.
And I only thought about it because somebody was like trying to find this deep meaning within the color, and I was like, it seems like they're time traveling through serial, like through genres, I guess. Not genres, but like.
Because how old is Scarlet Witch supposed to be around now? Like, she's like.
And she's like 30 something. So yeah, it definitely seems like there's time traveling. So in the theory that I've heard for that. Go ahead.
Oh no, this is the reason I was asking about that is there's an interesting little Easter egg in the first episode when they're looking at the calendar, and it's just a little girl watching television. And if she is that age range, I could totally see her growing up in, this impoverished fictional country, watching TV Land.
Ooh, that's digging deep. I like that.
Like that's her childhood, and as she's trying to get to that normality that she never had,
So
I could see her going back. It's like there was a Brian De Palma film a few years back, Femme Fatale, and the whole film is like inside this girl's head after she laid on a bed and watched an old noir film. And so the reality that plays out is just a dream she had when she fell asleep watching like Double Indemnity or something. I can't remember what she was watching, if it was even a real film, but I kind of think something like that might be going on.
I know one of the things that I was thinking about while actually I was at work today is every time she switches, so like every episode's apparently going to be, it seems like it's going to be a different era of sitcom.
Yeah.
I feel like she's running. So every time she switches eras, she's running. Like, because it's
B-Man.
always, yeah, it's always preceded by something weird happening that she's not cool with. So she runs to the next sitcom to try to find that normalcy.
Yeah, no, like color kept bleeding in. The B-Man came out of the manhole cover. Like that's what I mean by like it's very Lynchian. And it was weird to me with critics where they were like, it's just bad sitcoms. I'm like, did you not notice a freaking B-Man come out of a manhole, or the wife just suddenly become a broken record loop of like,
Yeah,
stop it, honey. Stop it, honey.
In
Stop
between,
it.
like
I'm
the sitcom goofs, like there's some creepy shit that happens, and I'm about it. Like honestly, when the B Man happens and she just goes no, like that music that was playing, I was like, I don't like what's happening here. It's not great.
And then at the end of the episodes, it always pulls back out of a television, and we're in the station of Sword, which there's a few links to. Like,
by the way, if you
Sword,
guys don't know what Sword is, think Shield for outer space.
yeah, it's the sword to go with the shield.
Overall, like the feel of this show, I enjoy. Like it has those moments where like you get pulled out of her reality, like her fantasy, and you're like, oh, not all is Gucci in this world. Um, so yeah, we've already discussed the fact that it's very like it has House of M vibes.
Yeah, but I also wonder. One thing that makes me a little suspicious about that theory, and it like the level of like reality warping she could do, it doesn't rule it out. But I do think it is interesting that we follow Vision as much as we do for it to be something that is purely her creation.
See, that's the thing that I was actually thinking about. Yeah, granted, Vision would be part of her imagination, but like,
and she
we do follow him a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I and there's one of like those interruptions, the commercials and stuff.
Let's
like,
talk about those. Those are great. Yeah. I love those.
Yeah, like that was one thing when I heard a couple people being like, "Oh, this will not catch on." I was like, like I'm not Gen Z, but them Gen Zers like the poppy. They like the dad. They like those YouTube conspiracy things, and this is catering.
Like that, the first commercial was the first time you see color in that world. Yeah, and B, just the reference to a Stark bomb. Yeah, like again, like that's the kind of thing I like about the show. Like, yeah, you might not catch that if you don't read or watch as much as we do, but like to me, I was like, oh, I get it. I see what you're doing.
Here's the wild thing. Okay, so Stark, Sword, okay. But what about the other commercial?
Strucker? Von Strucker?
Exactly.
Oh, I caught it. I fucking caught it.
What was that about? I was like,
that was like fucking on the nose. That was like them being like, in case you didn't get it the first fucking time, here it is written on a post-it note.
Yeah. And like I could see that still being like Wanda World, because Strucker was the one who put them on the run.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That is a direct reference to their memory.
Like that is the person that allowed them to go off on their own and be lovers. Like tragically. but nonetheless.
I'm gonna just move down my list of other things that happened.
Yeah.
Monica Rambeau, Geraldine, is all but confirmed to be Monica Rambeau, who is anybody?
Yeah.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's the area where I was like, we're gonna have to lean on you for more, because when you get into how many freaking Captain Marvels there are, I my brain melts.
When I first met Captain Marvel, it was in the '90s X-Men, and she was Miss Marvel.
Or because we're talking about the neighbor housewife, right?
No, that's Agnes. That's Agatha. That's the theory
okay,
for her. Agatha.
Okay.
Geraldine is the only black woman in the show.
Gotcha. Okay.
She's you meet her in Captain Marvel. She's the little girl. Yeah. Yeah, so she's the little girl. Like that's what
hell yeah.
When what's her face gives her jacket, me as a comic book nerd, yeah, she grows up to be the next Captain Marvel.
That was the nod.
And her name is
very cool.
Monica Rambeau, and that's her. And she works for Shield.
Okay.
Oh, not Shield. Sorry, she works for Sword.
Sword. Yeah.
So it's pretty much confirmed that she is Captain Marvel, like the current Captain Marvel. How she becomes Captain Marvel and everything in the Marvel ECU, I don't know yet. Because obviously, all current Captain Marvel is still flying around. She was just an Endgame.
Yeah, that's where I was like, okay.
That's the confusing part. I don't know how this one becomes it, but obviously they're gonna get to that later. Moving on to a more obscure reference. Did you catch The Wizard?
The Wizard. I think I missed that one.
In the opening of season 2, there's a little statue at the end of it on a table.
2, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, episode 2.
Yeah. Okay. It was like we're still talking about Wanda. No.
In the opening at the end, there's a couple references in the second opening.
Uh-huh.
There's a statue of the Wizard, and he's from the Vision and Scarlet Witch Volume 1. I think it's like comic 2 or something. He's just a speedster that is very connected to Maximoff. He was also in Jessica Jones season 2. So also in the opening too, we had bovine milk. Did you see that?
Oh, I heard about the. Yeah, I know who Bova is. She birthed the babies.
And there was something next to. Oh, it was Auntie A. Auntie A's cat litter, which was a reference to Agatha Harkness, who might also be Agnes.
Yes, the Scarlet Witch's original witch teacher. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The credits had the director being Abe Brown. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
Sons of Tigers. He goes to school with most recently in media, he goes to school with Miles Morales. But he's a Marvel character.
All right. Easter eggs.
The helicopter being in color in Iron Man colors.
Yeah, I was more distracted by like both the Pleasantville kind of thing and the fact that it had frickin' Swords logo on it.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to tell you something, Wanda.
There was also a theory that Dottie is the devil or Mephisto.
Yeah, I've heard Mephisto around a lot, which
I don't.
So here's the only way I could see that working is I have heard some people say that this is a little bit of a lead-in to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, except Mephisto already shows up in Loki's trailer if you pay close enough attention.
I haven't seen Loki's trailer yet.
So Loki's trailer, there's a very, very quick scene where there's a church, and on the stained glass is a devil, and that devil looks like Mephisto.
Okay.
It's also rumored that he's the bad guy in Loki. But I honestly, that's the other thing. I want to know if they're going to gig all these shows together.
But of course.
Well, like, at the very least, I can see Loki.
If they bring them all together, then you have to watch all of them.
Right? But I can straight up see them mentioning Falcon and Winter Soldier in Loki or vice versa. So we covered some of the references. I'm sure they're the biggest one. Well, it's not even the biggest one. It's the one that's like it was the hardest for me to notice. When it goes to color, did you see her wallpaper?
No, I didn't.
It's the jail she was in that the Avengers go to try to find them. When
Oh.
it goes to color and it pans over like the kitchen area, that wallpaper, if you pause it, is that where they found them in that jail.
Okay, that's actually kind of making me feel like we might be going back to the kids being brought up on TV, and TV is an old school place of safety and like idealism and dream for her.
It's just because of where media is now. This could be like back in the day. I think to like think so much into a show would have been ridiculous. But I feel like that they have enough experience and they could make things that seem incredibly mundane be so important. Like just again, just the fact that that little red dot in the beginning of the first episode was incredibly relevant. Or something as simple as, oh, was she hit? Um I don't even know if this is a real thing, but I caught it. When she hit Vision over the head, and her exact words were my husband and his indestructible head. Guess
Yeah,
whose
that
head
was a
got
weird one.
guess whose head got not indestructible? Mm.
No, I think actually if you go back, like I watched them before we started recording again, and it was like almost to the point where I could see some writers cringing a little bit. Every line of dialogue between them, it's almost like an Edgar Wright level, like double entendre, like play on what the plot is going to be for the episode. You know, oh, we have to get our clothes right. The whole episode's about fitting in. Um, yeah, there's a lot of that. So yeah, I think it welcomes rewatches. There's a lot of what the hell did I just see?
I had to rewatch it 3 times just to make sure I caught everything. Because I wanted to catch everything myself before I went looking.
I think there is going to be a little bit of a Pleasantville quality where as the show progresses, as the shows become more modern and the type of drama you can have becomes more closer to contemporary, we're going to see more humanity bleed into things and more of that kind of thing. I also think it's probably going to go like I think the tie-in to Multiverse of Madness is going to be that the show does go horror. Like it's already doing the surreal stuff. My favorite nod to like, yeah, we're going pretty surreal is at the end of the first episode. On the door is a lobster, which is a really just like super surrealist Dolly reference. I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm not crazy thinking about David Lynch when I think about how this is being presented to me. It's surreal.
No, I don't get how people cannot be more interested in the show. Just honestly, just from the scene of the beekeeper showing up and Wanda going no, that's when I was like, I need more right the fuck now.
Yeah, I feel like for some reason, and I don't entirely get it, people went in watching this wanting a sitcom when the whole point of it is it's trying to be a sitcom and failing. There was an analogy I gave to a friend of mine about this where I said, you know, it doesn't bother me that it doesn't entirely work like the classic sitcoms for the same reason it doesn't bother me that the wizard in the Wizard of Oz looks hokey with the double exposure. It's because it's about a man behind the curtain.
See, I think people just came to this from two different sides when they need to come in it straight from the middle. Some people expected a sitcom, some people expected a fucking feature length film. And I think
I
both
think
those sides didn't
I think
realize that they're gonna get a show.
and I think some people didn't realize that they were going to get a show about television. Like I think some people straight up were like, "Oh, there's a WandaVision show." They put it on. They're like, "What's this honeymooners crap?" And it's like, "Well, it's not honeymooners." I don't care. Like I think that was some people, and there was other people that are like, "These things are beloved to me. Stop playing with my toys." I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things where I can see so many ways it could go from here, and I'm optimistic.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking.
I also think the acting was great. I'm gonna
Oh God,
die on
yeah.
that hill.
Oh, easily.
I thought they were doing like I keep hearing people talk about like hokey writing, hokey performances. I'm like, no, they are mixing and they are a mixtape.
The actress who plays Agnes, I'm in love with. She is so good. She's so extra, and she's got that nosy neighbor thing down pat.
Olsen is doing this weird hybridization of Mary Tyler Moore and Lucille Ball that is just I love it.
I think we have the same opinion. This show is worth checking out. It is a good show. Just know what you're going in to watch. You're watching a several episode long series about basically TV at this point. But there is a mystery, there is a story. You just have to give it time to flesh itself out because it's not a movie.
And it is, for better or worse, deeply tied into the movie series. And
yeah. Oh God, yes.
It is not a standalone thing. It would be kind of like watching that Iron Man short where they confirmed that the Mandarin actually does exist, and thinking that that was its own thing, and being like, "Who's the Mandarin? Well, why do I care about the Mandarin? Why do I care about any of this?" It's like, it wasn't made for you. I'm sorry.
See, all in all,
I don't want to gatekeep anyone with that kind of thing, but like this is going to be the growing pains for Marvel of what to do when you have a story that you're still trying to tell after a decade, and yet trying to bring people in.
Oh, I'll gatekeep. Go watch the damn movies or find someone who has. Get your shit together. I don't care who I insult. Just go do shit right. Damn. If you haven't watched the movies, fuck off. Let me have this. Let me have this.
No,
I went through all of 2020 without comic books. Let me fucking have this. I will fight you. Fuck off. Damn.
Yeah.
Like, y'all don't understand. I'm a nerd. 2020 had no good games, no good anime, no good movies. Give me this year. Just all I want is this year. You can have 2022. Give me 21. Capron, as always, it is a pleasure talking to you.
And you as well. It's good to zoom in some people to the cabin.
We will be back next week talking about episode 3 of WandaVision. Theories, opinions, telling everyone who doesn't like it to fuck all the way off. Well, I will be. Capron's nicer than I am. And yeah, until next week, guys.
Sometimes.